Not all questions are meant to be asked, but the five ones that you must stay buried. This is Answer Gear.
If you think a trip to the doctor is bad now, imagine going in for a fever and leaving with a hole drilled in your skull. That was real medieval medicine. Doctors back then weren't just bad at their jobs, some of their treatments were straight up deadly. And the worst part? They actually believed they were helping. So were medieval doctors just clueless? Or were some of them basically serial killers with a license? Let's find out. The short answer: they weren't murderers, but they weren't healers either. Medieval doctors didn't intend to kill their patients, most of the time, but their treatments were so bad that survival was more of a bonus than an expectation. Bloodletting was the go-to cure for almost everything. The idea? Draining bad blood would restore balance. The reality? It often just made things worse. Got an infection? Some doctors suggested hot iron cauterization, literally burning the wound shut. If that didn't kill you, the resulting fever probably would. Trepanation, or drilling a hole in the skull, was used to treat migraines, seizures, and demonic possession. Did it work? Not really. Did people survive it? Shockingly, sometimes. So while most medieval doctors weren't trying to kill their patients, let's just say they weren't saving many lives either. Why were medieval treatments so terrible? Medicine versus madness. Medieval medicine wasn't based on science. It was based on superstition, religion, and a lot of bad guesses. The four humors theory dominated medicine. Doctors believed sickness came from an imbalance in blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. So instead of real treatment, they'd prescribe things like vomiting or blood draining. Sickness was often seen as a punishment from God, so instead of medicine, you might get prayer, fasting, or exorcisms. Surgery was basically a horror show. No anesthesia, no sterilization, just a saw, a strong assistant, and a lot of screaming. Long story short, medicine wasn't about healing. It was about surviving whatever insane treatment the doctor threw at you. Were some doctors actually malicious? Suspiciously deadly healers. While most medieval doctors were just doing their best with terrible information, there were definitely some who seemed less than ethical. Plague doctors weren't always real doctors. Many were just opportunists who looted the homes of the sick while pretending to treat them. Royal physicians had a suspiciously high failure rate when treating kings and nobles, especially when political rivals stood to gain. Barber surgeons, yes, your barber could also double as a surgeon, had a reputation for being more concerned with speed than success. Some might have been straight-up butchers. So while most medieval doctors weren't deliberately killing people, some definitely used their position for power, money, or just plain sadism. The most insane medieval cures, yes, these were real. Some medieval treatments were just bad science. Others, they were pure nightmare fuel. Dead mouse paste. Got a toothache? Some medieval doctors recommended mashing up a dead mouse and applying it to the gums, because sure, rotting rodent flesh sounds like a great cure. Crocodile dung contraception. Some ancient and medieval doctors believed stuffing dried crocodile dung inside the body could prevent pregnancy. No comment. Chicken butt therapy. During the Black Death, one cure involved strapping a live chicken's rear end to a patient's boils. The idea? The chicken would absorb the disease. The result? Just a really angry chicken. Drink gold, mercury, or lead. Some medieval treatments involved ingesting heavy metals like gold, which did nothing, or mercury, and lead, which definitely did something, like poisoning you. These weren't just random folk remedies. Actual doctors recommended them. Which begs the question, at what point does bad medicine cross into intentional cruelty? Final thoughts. Would you let a medieval doctor treat you? Imagine you wake up in the Middle Ages with a headache. Do you A, trust the doctor, knowing there's a 50-50 chance you'll end up with a hole in your skull? B, take your chances with medieval street cures, which might involve drinking crushed beetles? C, just accept your fate and hope you get reincarnated in a century with antibiotics? Medieval medicine did lay the foundation for modern healthcare, but let's be honest, it was basically legal torture with extra steps. So next time you're dreading a doctor's appointment, just be glad they're not prescribing bloodletting and leeches. Oh, and if you enjoyed this brutal dive into history, like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because trust me, we've got plenty more dark and bizarre facts coming your way.